What comes to mind when you hear the name Martin Luther King Jr.?
For many, it's the powerful words, "I have a dream," a single phrase that echoes through history, symbolizing a powerful movement for freedom and equality.
But who was the man behind the dream? What forces shaped his journey from a young boy in Atlanta to a global icon of peace? Today, we're going beyond the famous speeches to explore the life, the struggles, and the enduring legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This isn't just a history lesson. It's the story of how one person's unwavering belief in justice can inspire the world. Born Michael King Jr. on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, the man we know as Martin grew up in a world defined by segregation. His father was a respected pastor at the Ebenezer Baptist Church, and his mother was a schoolteacher. From an early age, he was an exceptional student, so bright that he skipped 2 grades and entered Morehouse College at just 15 years old. It was here, at this historic black college, that the seeds of his future were sown. He initially considered becoming a doctor or a lawyer, but he was deeply moved by the teachings of theologians who believed in using faith to fuel social change. He saw the church not just as a place of worship, but as a powerful engine for justice. Following in his father's footsteps, he decided to enter the ministry, a decision that would change the course of American history. After Morehouse, he attended Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania. Here, he was one of only a few black students, and he excelled, graduating as valedictorian. It was during this time that he first encountered the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi. King was absolutely captivated by Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance, or satyagraha, which means truth force, the idea that you could confront oppression not with fists, but with peace, love, and unwavering courage resonated deeply with him. He saw it as the perfect tool for the struggle against racial injustice in America. This wasn't about passive acceptance. It was about active, powerful, nonviolent confrontation. They married in 1953, and Coretta Scott King would become his steadfast partner in both life and the fight for civil rights. In 1954, Dr. King, now a newly minted Ph.D., accepted a position as the pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. He couldn't have known it then, but he had just moved to the city that would soon become the epicenter of the civil rights movement. Just a year later, on December 1st, 1955, a quiet, dignified woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her bus seat to a white man. Her arrest was the spark that ignited a fire. Local community leaders, looking for a fresh voice to lead the charge, turned to the eloquent 26-year-old pastor, Dr. King. They asked him to be the spokesperson for what would become the Montgomery bus boycott. He accepted, and in his first major address to the movement, he declared, "There comes a time when people get tired of being trampled over by the iron feet of oppression." For 381 days, the black community of Montgomery walked. They organized carpools, they supported each other, and they peacefully protested the segregated bus system, crippling it financially. It was an immense sacrifice, but it worked. In 1956, the Supreme Court ruled that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional. Montgomery was a monumental victory. It proved that nonviolent protest could achieve tangible results, and it catapulted Dr. King onto the national stage. Following the success in Montgomery, King helped found the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC, in 1957. The organization was designed to harness the moral authority and organizing power of black churches to conduct nonviolent protests for civil rights reform. As president of the SCLC, King traveled the country and the world, giving speeches, leading marchers, and inspiring millions. But the path was anything but easy. The struggle was met with brutal resistance. One of the most significant campaigns was in Birmingham, Alabama, in 1963, known as Bombingham for its history of racial violence. It was one of the most segregated cities in the nation. The SCLC launched Project C for confrontation. Protesters, including children, marched peacefully for their rights. The world watched in horror as the city's police commissioner, Bull Connor, unleashed high-pressure fire hoses and vicious police dogs on the demonstrators. The images were shocking and undeniable. They were broadcast across the globe, exposing the raw brutality of segregation and forcing the nation to confront its conscience. King himself was arrested during the protests. It was from his jail cell that he penned one of the most important documents of the era, the Letter from Birmingham Jail. In it, he eloquently defended the strategy of nonviolent resistance, famously writing, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." The pressure from the Birmingham campaign was immense, and it played a crucial role in pushing President John F. Kennedy to propose landmark civil rights legislation. The momentum was building, leading to the pivotal event of the movement, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom on August 28, 1963. 250,000 people, black and white, gathered at the Lincoln Memorial in a powerful display of unity. It was here, in the shadow of the great emancipator, that Dr. King delivered his legendary "I Have a Dream" speech. He began with his prepared text, but then, encouraged by those around him, he put his notes aside and spoke from the heart. He shared his vision of a nation where his children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. The speech was more than just words. It was a symphony of hope, a powerful call to the soul of America. It electrified the nation and remains one of the most iconic speeches in human history. The March on King's speech created unstoppable momentum, leading directly to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a law that outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. The following year, after a violent and hard-fought campaign in Selma, Alabama, which included the infamous Bloody Sunday March, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed into law, securing the right to vote for millions of African Americans. In recognition of his tireless nonviolent struggle, Dr. King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. At 35 years old, he was the youngest recipient ever. But Dr. King's work didn't stop there. In the later years of his life, his focus expanded. He began to speak out more forcefully against the Vietnam War, calling it an unjust conflict that diverted resources and attention from the fight against poverty at home. This was a controversial stance, and it cost him the support of some of his allies, but King felt it was his moral duty. He launched the Poor People's Campaign, a multicultural effort to demand economic justice for all impoverished Americans, regardless of their race. He was planning a massive march on Washington to bring the issue of poverty to the forefront. It was during this period, in 1968, that he traveled to Memphis, Tennessee, to support black sanitation workers who were on strike for better wages and safer working conditions. He saw their struggle as a key part of the larger fight for economic justice. On the evening of April 3rd, in what would be his final speech, he seemed to foreshadow his own death, telling the crowd, "I've been to the mountaintop, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you." He was only 39 years old. The world was plunged into mourning. Riots erupted in cities across the country as shock and grief turned to anger. A powerful voice for peace had been silenced by an act of violence, but his death could not kill the dream. The legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is immeasurable. He fundamentally changed America. His leadership and the sacrifices of countless others in the civil rights movement dismantled the legal framework of segregation. But his influence extends far beyond the laws he helped change. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance has inspired movements for freedom and justice around the globe, from the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa to pro-democracy protests in Asia and beyond. He taught the world that moral courage is a weapon more powerful than any gun, and that love can be a force for radical social transformation. His life is a testament to the idea that one person, armed with a powerful dream and an unshakable commitment to justice, can indeed change the world. The mountaintop he saw is still in the distance, and the march continues, but the path he forged lights the way. Thank you for watching. If you found this story inspiring, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores the people who shaped our world.